Thurne's going to be like a ghost town because there's hardly any work.
It's made me feel hatred against police. It's made me.
It has
like
actually
minus.
politicised
No doubt that Emsworth will
a number of
thrive.
young people.
I'm living on friends, me.
It's there.
Have some good
He's
friends.
waiting
That's all
for
right.
his
I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but if you want any meat, you have to bite your tongue.
And the orders are arrive at 6:30 a.m.
Future for me? Look for a job.
It certainly pulls at one's heartstrings when you see these men going in on bus.
People are prepared to accept at the moment what's happening to him because it's what they believe in.
Because we're together. We understand what this fight is about, and that's why.
To have a mum and dad, but live an orphan soul. To find the things you never had, and then to have them stole. To see the bigger picture will dig a deeper hole. To understand what life is like, being born of coal. Barnes's heart is ever red, yet in her heart you'll hear it said, community's a myth, it now lies dead.
Just turned 25 in January, and in February of that year we were the first out on strike. A lot of people think that Corton Wood were first colliery that came out on strike. Were actually Manvers. So we did about 2 days off a 13-month on strike. Before that time, I don't think I'd ever thought about politics or anything in my life. Never really worried about them. But then I realised that we've got to make a stand. They were taking our jobs away. They were going to kill our communities off. And I think it really struck a chord with a lot of people at my age. I don't think they ever thought any young lads had spent 12 months on strike, which we did do. They were probably hardest days of my life when I think about it. There were families, my brothers and sisters were all involved with mining, and when I think that nobody could pay mortgages or pay the rents, the Christmas coming up to end of '84, when I think we'd not enough money to put food on table, let alone pay rent. I don't think at the time it fetched out the best in people. It gave us that sense of community. I suppose that were there all the time. That's what mining communities were. That's why we were going on strike, to save them. We weren't going on strike out of a sense of greed or we were wanting more pay. All we wanted to do was keep us jobs. Keep us jobs for the future, for kids, for grandkids. When I look back now and think about things and see how kids today are struggling to get a job. There's no work for people when they leave school and that. And you see them getting into trouble. I don't think that would have ever have happened if collieries had been open, if steelworks had been open. That sense of community now is dead and gone. We'll never see them days again. The friendship that we had with the camaraderie that we had in Pate, you'll never get that anywhere else, I don't think. You might have had it in steelworks. I never worked in the steelworks, but you'll never see that again. That's gone now. You went out with lads from Pate, you went out for a drink at night and everything. Your friends were all at Pate. It was a community. The Pit was a community. Like myself, both my brothers and both my brother-in-laws worked at Pit. It was our form of income, it was our life. They're happy days. I never really hated anybody, if you mean that, or held a grudge against an individual or anything. I could never hurt anybody or anything like that. But I don't know, I feel a bit we were betrayed. You know, I wish we'd have stuck it out, all of us together, and really gone to end. But unfortunately it won't have been, and that's history now. You know, when somebody's been on strike for 12 months and go back a week early, they've given everything, haven't they? They've lost everything. You know, lost everything. The sense of community's gone. You've only got to look. You go through Ireland, where I live, how many public houses are shut down, working men's clubs shut. You know, that's all community, because there's no money around, nobody gets out, nobody sees each other. They broke the spirit of the people, of the communities, and I think that's what they set out to do, sadly. How a government can turn against its own people is unbelievable. And that's, you know, it just makes me blood boil when I think about it afterwards. What happened, how they could make a group of people in a community suffer. Not just us, but steelworkers, you know, Wapping before that. They could set out to do that, and that's what they did.
Once of coal, now of steel. Lift the world. How much did it heal?
I was a young bloke. I'd just bought my first house just months before, and as it went on, it just got worse and worse. So I would say it affected me, like the majority of people, really bad. No money. As it goes on, you start thinking to yourself, how am I going to manage? I mean, obviously, not a lot from around you, but quite a few people did go back as it went on because they were desperate. I tried, my wife was working, so she enabled me to stop out. Well, I stayed out the full time, like, but it just, I don't know, it's just so hard to think that it was going to go on. I still don't believe now that it went on for a year, although it did. You know, and it's still, it just changes your life. To be fair, I know people who went back in, and everybody's got their own reason for going back in, isn't there? I'm not happy that they went back in, but at the same time, I wasn't the same boat as them. You know, they must have felt they were desperate to go. I don't know, young families, I don't know. I will never forgive these who never ever supported it. Just to make an excuse that they didn't get a ballot to go, I'll never believe that. That didn't matter to me. Do you know what I mean? That's their excuse for not supporting, you know, everybody else. So yeah, so them who went back, I won't say, well, I was chuffed that they went back. But them who never came out in first place, I'll never forget them. My missus used to say, coal dust, you know, I'm fed up with coal dust, because we were talking about pit. Meant pit's shut, you had it for a few months, and then there's no, is there? Because there's no people, you're not working together with workmates. I had to go out to area to get a job. I couldn't get a job locally. I ended up working in Doncaster, do you know what I mean? And there were pit lads there, but it will never the same again. You know, like work, it's never been the same since. Do you know, like lads you work with, they were all in it together, and it was, you can't replace that either. It's just totally different breed of people. No, it doesn't exist at all, does it? I mean, Barnsley's changed beyond any recognition, isn't it? Like, there's no, although I've kept this kind of job I've got now, do you know what I mean? There ain't many of these kind of firms in Barnsley area. It's not, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of big firms. There's not loads of work come to area like there were when the pits were here. Everybody worked at pit. But I still don't earn what I earned then. There's no replace what we had. And that killed community totally, didn't it? Like, you know yourself now, you're getting to working age. How many people from this area travel all over to work, don't they? Even now, they're still travelling out the area, Doncaster, Sheffield, Leeds, because it's never been replaced, has it, really? Only thing that's is better now is the environment itself, isn't it? You know, your old pit stacks have gone. You know, it's a cleaner place. It's a lot, you know, it's better that regards. My wife took extra work on. She worked all the way through, and I think without her working, we wouldn't have managed. Although I would never have gone back, not ever. You know what I mean? I couldn't have stayed in this area, if I had gone back to work. I am proud that I didn't go back in. You know what I mean? Having said that, you know, you're good at football now, and you ask me the type of people I would never forgive. When I were at Barnsley fan, I was the other week, other month when they always get scabbed, don't they, when they come down from Nottingham Forest and that. And to me, these who were shouting scab are not in a position to judge anybody like other because they weren't there at the time. And obviously, they're now the sons of. They're the sons up probably at the foot, and they're not scabs. Like, I mean, we work all over the country. I've worked in Nottingham. I don't have a problem when I'm there. You know what I mean? And I dare say I would speak to people, even if I knew they had. I just feel they did wrong. You know what I mean? I think you'll always find here that it's more friendly, but it's not like friendly like it used to be. You know, it's not like everybody will leave the doors open and the people will be, you know, everybody got together. And I think that's just gone out of society, like, isn't it, really? I don't think that's totally to do with strikes, but I don't think you'll ever get it back now. And days have gone for good.
1, 2, 3.
O come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. O come ye to Bethlehem.
Coppers and coal, hand in hand, praying for the promised land. But when the 10 bob trimmings are taken down, what then? There's still a choir to be run.
100% of this choir up until the war, certainly, were of a mining community. They were all miners. In the late 20s, when the general strike was on, people had heard, and the name had travelled that far, they were asked to go to Warrington to help the miners raise funds for their communities, not just the mining communities, all communities, the dockers from Liverpool, and they went over and did about 5 or 6 concerts. And bearing in mind, this was 1928. No motorways, buses were very, very sharabangs, you know. And they went over, they did about 5 concerts, and they raised something like £500. Then, I mean, miners were only being paid a couple of bob a week at that time. So, I mean, raising that kind of money is unbelievable. As mines have dwindled and waned away, more and more people are coming from the outside. Like we do, obviously there's no pits around here, so there's no miners. We have a few ex-miners in the choir now. At our heyday we were about 80 strong. They've been 40 strong from 1930 up till the war. Then after the war it slowly built up again to 50, 60 strong. In 1980, circa 1980, there were 80 strong, and that's when I joined in 83. But now we have, although most are retired now. We have retired bankers, we have retired school teachers, electricians, absolutely every walk of life you can think of. And they come at this present moment in time, they travel as far away from Retford. We've got one lad here tonight from Retford, Dore in Sheffield. I live in Cudworth myself. Our conductor lives in Wombwell. I think there's only 2 that live in Thurnscoe. And although we now rehearse in Golthorpe, that is because we can't get any premises in Thurnscoe. And there's just no premises suitable for us there. But we will remain the Thurnscoe Harmonic Mountains Club because our forefathers have fought for that good money, and we're hoping to carry it through. As I say, this year it's our 90th anniversary, and as long as I'm alive, I'll do everything possible to reach at least 100 years. Leave the back doors open. They'd come and borrow a cup of sugar, even if you were out, but they'd bring it back. But now you didn't. I think that is more what's affecting the communities nowadays than anything else. People don't feel safe. That's what affects the community more than anything else. There is a community. We form a community in ourselves. The choir community, even that is not as good as it used to be. It's very, very hard work trying to keep this community going. But we are still trying. Just because you can't do something doesn't mean don't try.
They shall not starve. How could they not? What's mine is yours, but I've not got a lot.
Oh, we use that. Yeah. Silly, I mean, we couldn't claim any money from government, could we? No. You got nothing from your unions, you know what I mean? The petrol money, you know, to go to a pit.
Farmer Steve Ritchie used to fetch bags of taters down for us. We used to take backyard and pay them ready for kitchens. Yeah,
farmers, shops donated things.
Shops donated, no, they were fantastic. It fetched all these snooty noses all together. Fetched everybody together. Then we used to think there were 30 millionaires. They all fell in line together.
You couldn't afford to go for a drink, but you'd have people like Alan. Can you remember Alan?
Yeah.
He'd make home brew. So on a Saturday night, everybody, it tasted like sump water. It was vile, but everybody got drunk on it. You know? It was things like that. He couldn't afford to go to a pub, so he sucked his own brew. Then he'd make another batch one day.
One good night, one at last climbed at lamppost.
Horrible drink, but everybody drank it. Something you're passionate about. I mean, they were trying to devastate the coal industry, and we said we were fighting for us jobs. That's what we were doing. I know it sounds silly, I've been 12 months away from work, you're fighting for a job. But that's the only way we could demonstrate to stop them closing us pits. It was a failure at the end of the day because they ended up shutting them anyway. But it was our way of saying, you know, leave us alone. We can produce coal as cheap as what you can buy it from any other country. Why do you want to decimate us? But they did anyway at the end of the day, didn't they? It was 50-50 with me. I mean, glad in some way to get back to work, start earning money and start living again. But yet, sad in another way that we sort of... we folded at the end of the day. I know we went with his heads held high and we're proud men and all that, but we folded at the end of the day because people just couldn't live any longer on what were happening to us. You know, no money whatsoever coming in, relying on soup kitchens. going up Muckstack every day, picking a bag of coal and carrying it home at a mile, just to keep a fire in and things like that. You just couldn't cope with it no more. And we had a vote, we went back to work. And that was it.
I felt sorry for single lads, me. Doing nothing for them.
No, they weren't.
Only thing they get was their little bit of picketing money from union, wasn't it?
Mm.
Nothing else. Or a food parcel when they went to union meetings. Well, I mean, I've seen them, such a little Billy Merricks and all them, they're walking about in the stocking feet, there's no shoes out, had they? No.
Well, there were some hard times, but there were some good times.
Some good times, there's some good times, yeah. Partying in street.
Parties.
Street parties.
And street parties. Like I said, it was a community then, everybody looked after one another. You know what I mean? You could let your kids play out and you wouldn't be scared because you knew somebody was watching them in community, things like that. But we had some good laughs, didn't we?
Yeah.
Even picketing, we had some good laughs.
Oh,
we
yeah.
went all over the country, you know, trying to dodge police to get to a pit and get through roadblocks we hadn't seen. As the tactics we used to... They used to wear a suit, put a suit on and a tie, look like some sort of businessman, so police would look in your car and wave you through. Yeah. And when you got through, you pull up, take suit off, put your old pit rags on and go picketing. Silly things. We used to do all sorts, didn't we? You'd actually starve yourself to make sure your kids got something to eat, you know what I mean? Things like that. Mm. I mean, if you smoke, you wouldn't buy a packet of fags because you wanted a box of Ready Brek for kids. You put your family first, don't you?
Yes, I'm sure we did.
For me, it won't fear what stopped. I mean, we've all seen horror stories about scabs going back into work, they get their houses smashed up and beat up. That didn't come into it with me. It was pride with me.
Pride and principle.
Pride and principles, that was it. I believe we were fighting for something which was right and just. And we were fighting to keep pits open and to keep us jobs. And that was it. Alright, I'm not saying we were all bloody squeaky clean and nicey, but miners caused trouble, police caused trouble. I think it was 50-50 to be honest with you, until Met Police turned up. And it was just a community, everybody associated and you all meet up and they had club trips and they were all miners, you know, and families, and there's none of that now, none of it. I can hardly name you anybody on this street now, but at one time of day, like I said, every house had a working miner in it and you could name them all and you could trust them all, but now you just don't know who's living here.
So you know what you do?
Yeah, it's a shame.
You take everything by the shovel.
But I don't think
that's work.
I don't think that's just mining communities. Me, I think it's happening all over the country, not just in mining.
Oh, right,
communities.
it's all over here.
No, it's the way the world's going, isn't it?
From being a mining village, it's all altered. It's all altered. You just look after number one now.
The community spirit has gone how it used to be. It's disappeared, and I think it's not just this village. It's all mining communities.
Yeah, it is.
Look beyond the picket. What do you see? A little girl with dreams. But dreams cost money, and Daddy hasn't got any.
My dad worked in pit for 45 years before he retired when he was 60. I was in final year, 5th year at Darfield Bolston School, and most of the children at that school were from mining families, so it did affect the school in a dramatic way. And we did have an occasion where the children actually went on strike in support of the parents. I wouldn't have thought the school would have taken very kindly to it, but being in the community they were, the teachers did have to have, you know, some sympathy, you know, with what was going off, because it was a major, you know, major thing at that time. We used to have quite a lot of activities, and we used to go dancing, and when obviously after the first few months, after it had gone on for a few months, you know, we had said that we would packing dancing, but as dance teacher works well, very, very good. And because most of her dancers came from these sort of families, she just sort of put everything on hold. But I mean, my mum and dad paid every penny back, but they did. We just kept going. We just kept going dancing. She kept giving us free lessons until everybody went back to work. We were quite lucky because my mum had a little part-time job, so you know we had a bit of something. But some families really, really depended on the food banks and the soup kitchens, you know, which even today they still exist because there's still people in poverty, but this was slightly different. It was poverty through trying to, you know, striking for what they believed in. They're not the same type of people that they used to be. These miners, they used to go to working men's club, have a few pints. Most at working men's clubs are shut. Most at pubs are shut. It's the complete way of life of a working person has altered. I do think that if you were to go to a local school, you'd have the ones who are unemployed and have been unemployed and have come through that stage, and then you've got your ones who are employed. Even within a community, there is a big gap. Still is a big gap. Whereas when you've got a mining community, virtually everybody was the same. If you understand what I mean, there were still some unemployed, and there were still some with better jobs, but on the whole, everybody was virtually the same.
Loyalty, too, has its price. Was it worth it? Is there anything left? Would you do it again?
When we first went on strike for the first 3 or 4 weeks, everything were fine, everybody were happy and didn't expect strike to last long. As time went on, we realised that strike was going to be a lot longer, and things started to get difficult. And because we were miners that were on strike, we couldn't receive any benefits of any kind. So we had to rely on as friends and family. My aunt, she used to ask me to go and do little jobs for her, so that and she used to give us little food parcels for my kids and biscuits, and she used to invent little jobs for me to do, so that she could help us out, which is what they did. I mean, she once gave me a food parcel, and she told me when I got home to empty it, and I emptied it, and she'd put me a note, a £10 note at bottom with a little note saying, "Take yourself out for a drink," which was strange, but true. I mean, I used to like to go out for a drink, but obviously circumstances that were a no-no, except for one night when my friend Frankie, old mate of mine, he'd done a little job for someone, and he'd got a few pounds, sorry, and he called. He come and knocked on my door, and he says, "I've done a little job. I've got a few quid. Get this in ready and let's go out and have a drink." And that's the way it was. He didn't just go out on his own. He come and call for his mate, and we went out and had a few pints, which once again shows camaraderie that there were between mates. At that time, particularly, they were in times of hardship, which is what we were. One of my wife's friends had asked us what we were doing about his holidays that year. Well, originally, when we come on strike and we expect to be back at work, we'd be going on holiday because we was like caravanning. But obviously, them plans went out at window. We we knew we couldn't afford to go on holiday. And a friend, one of my daughter's friends that danced at dance school, they had a caravan, and she came to see my wife and said, would we like to go on holiday?
It was when we were at sixth form, and I had a little job at Littlewoods. Used to work on a Saturday. We used to work at Littlewoods, and I remember having to go in and ask for a week's holiday because somebody had gave us, you know, a week holiday. Was somebody that I used to go dancing with, and they had a caravan at Cleethorpes, so they'd offered us caravan free for a week, so we went to Cleethorpes. But I mean, we didn't have no money, but it didn't matter, because you went, you know, you accepted free gift, and off you went, and like I say, we had a fantastic time. Like I say, you just make sandwiches up and go for picnics and go for walks on beach, and that's all you do. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but it was just a break. It was just a way.
But the lady and her husband arranged for a car to pick us up at the door, take us to the caravan, and fetch us back from the caravan completely free of charge.
And like I said, they had nothing to do with the strike. These people had nothing to do with the strike. I mean, my dad made his decision, my mum stood by him, and we just went along with it. And like I said, we were prepared to give up things, you know, to make it easier. We didn't have a lot for Christmas and things like that, but whatever we had, we were grateful for, and we didn't miss out, and we didn't feel that we'd missed out. You know, so no, I don't think there weren't anything that we could do really, except for be supportive and stick together, and that's all we did.
Even my daughter told me the other night that she remembered the Christmas, that we hadn't got much for Christmas, but they had everything they wanted. All the family there, and second-hand toys, and we had a smashing party because everybody were in the same mind. As I said, my wife kept us afloat because, unfortunately, because I was on strike, we couldn't receive any. Nobody. All the doors were shut to us because we were striking miners against the government of the day. All doors shut. There was nothing. I had a couple of friends that went back into work. I've met him since, one of them particularly, who come to see me. They told me that they were going back into work. His wife was suffering with cancer and had no finance. It drove him back to work. I was uncomfortable with that, but I understood it. The feelings are different about people that never came on strike. That's a different feeling. They knew that it was their pits that were going to shut at a later stage, albeit it was a lot later when their pits shut. I'm trying not to get political. When we said that there were lots and lots of pits going to close, and now, 30 years later, there's one pit left, were we telling lies? I don't think so. But we can't do anything about that. Time has taken its toll. The communities now are not the same as they were. Closing the mines, close the communities. I mean, the area where I live now, there's people that have lived here for 2 or 3 years. We don't even know the second names. Going back to then, you knew everybody in village. You knew everybody's name. Everybody knew everybody. You used to go to the local club. Everybody knew everybody. Now, no, it's not the same. No, the communities they're not the same at all. But as my wife had said, that's what they call forward progress. I would call it reverse progress. It's not. It's not as good as it was. But who can alter that? Mining history, as I mentioned earlier, with the last pit closing, has become like the Romans and like the Vikings. It has become past history, which is unfortunate. The governments of the day, being whichever parties, the governments of the day should be disgusted in what they've done. If same thing had have happened and we hadn't gone on strike against the government of the day to fight for jobs, where would we be in history? They'd say, they won't fight for their own jobs. They didn't do it, but we did. We tried. We damn tried. And that's why I'm so proud of being a miner, because we tried. We were against all odds, but we tried.
Some relics survived, others yet live. Listen close. Can you hear them?
Sharp, missed arrow there, pointing no fingers. Very honest, Keith, very honest.
I actually joined Dorothy Band 1956. But unlike Keith, who's been going all that time, I did take 20 years out. I retired in 1990, but came back to play band when he got me drunk. About 3 years ago at a reunion, and the rest is history, so to speak.
And all women were involved in all, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Used to have a
So when you talk about community spirit, women got involved, and they used to have what they call a women's committee, and they'd run beetle drives, all sorts of things to raise money for band. And now that was before CISWAR got hold at all colliery bands. They were all self-supported in them days, but there were a real community spirit in them days.
When we went back to work, there were lads that I'd worked with, and I know they'd gone back. And for a few weeks I couldn't talk to them. And then I thought to myself, I've worked with these all my life, gone out for a pint with them, and I just couldn't do it. So I went back to normal with them. I just could not. I couldn't not talk to him. There are people.
That's an interesting point, that, because I remember, I'll not name him, but he comes in here with his granddaughter who plays on baritone. He staunch union man. On strike.
Went to all the picketing,
and 3 weeks prior to its ending, he were in such a mess with his mortgage not being paid, and his family were almost at breaking point. He decided to go back to work. And I'll never forget it, because there's people in this village today still against what he did, because he broke strike. And I think it was because he was such a big union man. He turned tail and went back, but he did it for his family. He didn't do it because he wanted to break the strike. He got no alternative. He was on points of being repossessed, and his family were at breaking point. He got no choice. He had to go back. And I mean, I'd helped him out God knows how many times, because I was working in a different environment. But I was a former miner, and I empathised with everything that they were doing. There's little wonder people like me who have
you know, you've given your life to your job, your career, and then for it to be taken away from you, it's bloody hard. You know, if you're a miner and you've done 30 years and naught else, and then you're told that you ain't got a job, them in Westminster ain't got a clue, have they? Not got a clue what damage that does.
No.
Not just to that individual, but to the family, an extended family. And coming back, what it does to a community. And it takes some pulling back. You've only got to look at Galtthorpe, Thurnscott, in particular Galtthorpe and Thurnscott, because I can relate to them two places. Even to this day, there's a legacy left over from miners' strike. And it'll never, ever go away, I don't think. Never go away. It'll always be remembered for what she did. Because she destroyed so many communities and so many lives. People forget that side of it. And they still haven't got them back today, have they?
No.
I mean, Dodder's still getting itself back to what it used to be. Dodder's dead lucky, really, because it's got an industrial estate where it's brought a lot of jobs in. So it's nowhere near as bad as your Thurnscotts and your Galtthorpes. Nowhere near as bad. But Keith's right. They've a lot to answer for. Hell of a lot to answer for. Don't forget, Dodder Colliery Band's been going since 1836 or thereabouts. And there's been a continuation, father-son, father-son, from family to family, all the way through. And the miners' strike and all the other strikes, and you can go back to 1926, big strike, have not destroyed the music that was held in communities. The bands are still going. Certain, not all bands, because some have gone to the wall because they can't afford it. We've been dead lucky in that. Even though it crashed and it fell apart for a short period, at least there was a guy in village who played with the old band, didn't want to see it die, and managed to resurrect it. And he gave it the wonderful name of Dodder Phoenix, you know, the rising of the phoenix from the ashes. Excuse me, and it managed to carry on. And it carried on with a lot of young people, but it's developed again into a decent band now, and it's making a good name for itself. But we are self-supporting, and we're self-supporting by people in the community. It might be a community that I consider to be kind of privatised, if you know what I mean. It's not the kind of public kind of community that we used to have in the 50s and 60s, but a privatised type of community. Nevertheless, they still help the band and contribute to the band. But one of the things that people don't seem to latch onto, and I think it's an important point, by being able, at our age, you know, in us coming up mid to late 60s, to be able to read music and play an instrument and watch a conductor and be part of a team staves off Alzheimer's for me, because your brain's having to work overtime for 2 hours in a rehearsal. And it's the best thing going for Alzheimer's. You know, you read it paper well, do a crossword on a morning or whatever. For me, learn to play music and play an instrument. That'll stave off Alzheimer's. Because your brain's working overtime all the time. And your lungs. Yeah, because your breathing's got to be spot on. Absolutely, you know, it's so good medically to be part of a band, in my view. Not just because you're creating music and you're a team, and there's nothing like it, I'll tell you, Ryan. When the band is playing what I call on song, Keith will tell you, because he's said it to me many a times, it makes the hairs at the back of your neck stand up. And it's only you're in tears, aren't you? Sometimes I can't play because tears running down my face. The sound that you're making with other people is just wonderful. And you know, the community out there, when they come to listen to you, they're the same. 3 weeks ago, we had Grass on the Brass on welfare. First time we've done it. Brass on the Grass. For a year, Brass on the Grass. What did I say? Grass on the Brass. It's what you call a Freudian slip. Grass on the Brass, I like that.
That's next year's one.
I call it Alzheimer's. Right. Anyway, Fred, we had this Brass on the Grass, and I wasn't sure how many people had turned up from community. And it was from community. It weren't from Sheffield or Donny or Barnsley. It was a success. There were Dodderthers, and there must have been almost 100 people turned up to sit there and listen to the band, because we resurrected old-fashioned Dodder sing.
Whitsuntide used to.
Every Whitsuntide, as you know,
everybody marching with the best suits.
That's right. Yeah, and they used to have a Dodder sing with the churches and chapels that come together, and we did that. And for me,
I felt proud because I'd helped to organise it. I really felt proud because 100 people had turned out from Village, and we're hoping to do it again next year. So that's, when I talk about the community spirit, you know, it's not dead, it's not buried, it's there,
in a different,
but it's there in a different way.
Yeah.
People are getting on with their lives, whereas in 40s and 50s, everybody knew what everybody else were doing. They never locked their back door. You know, when I was a paper lad in the 50s, I used to go collecting paper money, and the number of people that had leave paper money on windowsill, and so we're going around collecting it. You know, nobody locked the door. Used to walk, morning paper. Every door were open. Not get that today, because it's a different society. But the community spirit's still there in a different way. That sense of community now is dead and gone. We'll never see them days again.
Barnes has changed beyond any recognition.
They used to leave the back doors open.
Will that ever come back? That camaraderie? No. No.
It'll never quite be the same.
We were a community then, everybody looked after one another.
From being a mining village, it's all altered.
The community spirit has gone.
It's not dead, it's not buried, but the community spirit's still there in a different way.
The clock makes theft. Our time is gone. Our lives bereft. But we live on.